So what's going on guys, Kids here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best Viessa build guide in the first Descendant. So for this build I will show you what weapons and modules you want to get. Then I will explain every single skill and show you the best reactor stats and external components. And then lastly we will take a closer look at the gameplay, so you would be able to get the best results and highest damage possible and much more. And just before we start, let me introduce you guys to today's sponsor, Instant Gaming. They are a website that provides you with a brand new and simple way to buy games at amazing prices. You can get the best PC, Mac and console games with up to 70% off. Instant Gaming makes it very easy to save while purchasing games within a single site. Just choose the game you want to play. For example, I want to buy the new Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. So we just click on Add to Cart, then click Pay. Then we input our details, and then when the payment is complete, we will receive the game's activation key. And finally, we just simply go to the Steam and copy and paste the key in, and it's that simple. We just saved €9 and this was only 23% off. There are plenty of other offers that go even up to 70%. So what are you waiting for? Check out Instant Gaming by clicking my link in the description box, and let's get right back into the video. So then let's move over to the Viessa build. She is a debuffer type of character who uses chill at will. She can use her unique attribute, the chill, to freeze enemies in place by unleashing cold snap attacks. She is geared primarily towards AoE and dot damage. By default, her skills apply a debuff that slows down enemy movement. However, later in this video I will explain a transcendent module that can change this effect into a damage over time effect, aka DOT. And by changing this one thing, we will increase our Viessa damage by 2 times. So with this in mind, you will be heavily incentivized by playing as Viessa to carefully place your skills to hit as many enemies as possible, which will inflict the maximum amount of dot damage as a result. It's also worth remembering that this effect stacks, so enemies can have up to 5 stacks of the movement speed reduction, so keep freezing them as much as you can. This is made easier by the fact that the 2 of the Viessa skills, the Frost Shards and the Cold Snap, have very short cooldowns. So as long as you have enough MP, you can keep using them and keep debuffing your enemies 24/7. So now let's take a closer look at the skills. The first passive skill is called the Ice Sphere, which inflicts Ice Shackle that creates an ice sphere that flies to another nearby enemy, dealing AoE damage and inflicting Ice Shackle. Then our first active skill is called the Frost Shards, that fires Frost Shards to damage enemies and deal AoE damage to nearby enemies. This will also inflict the Ice Shackle. Then the second one is the Frost Road skill, which increases the movement speed and shield, and creates an ice sheet on the ground that inflicts again the Ice Shackle. Then the Cold Snap skill will deal chill damage to the enemies in front of your character, and of course inflict the Ice Shackle. And then finally we have the Blizzard skill, which creates a blizzard that deals continuous damage, debuffs defensives, inflicts AoE and Ice Shackle. And by the way, each time I said the Ice Shackle effect, it means that each one of your skills will not only do damage, but apply the Ice Shackle effect, which decreases the enemy speed, and it can stack up to 5 times. But keep in mind that this effect does not work on bosses. Then now let's take a closer look at our build modules. Your module capacity cost limits how many modules you can equip, and they can be upgraded as you level up your character. Different modules have different capacity cost, which generally depends on how powerful the module is. This is a balancing system that prevents players from only equipping the strongest modules and having a totally overpowered character. But it's important to know that when equipping a module on the Viessa, make sure that as many modules as possible are in a slot with a matching icon. This will give you a 50% reduction on the module capacity cost. So here we have the best modules for your leveling build. You should be able to get this Viessa leveling setup by approximately level 25 to 30. This is a really good base setup to have before you are preparing to farm the max level setup. So we want to get the Nimble Fingers, that will reduce your skill cooldowns. Then the Skill Extension, which improves your skill duration. Then the Skill Expansion, which considerably increases the skill effect range. Then the Chill Specialist, which boosts the power of your chill skills. Then the Non-Attribute Master, which considerably boosts your skill power, with a smaller additional boost to the non-attribute skill power. Then the Dual Claws, that attack with the Dual Claw during sub-attack, Also, they will increase your max module capacity. And finally, we have the Energy Collection, which will allow you to leech aka steal MP from enemies. And just before we move on to the endgame setup, let me quickly explain why are some skill modules empty, like here for example. So basically, this slot modifies our skills, but the problem is that all the modified variants are worse for our build than the original. Therefore, we leave the slot empty, because there's not a single modifier in that slot, which could help our build. So it doesn't really matter what we do in the empty spaces. And after that is done, now we are ready for our max level module setup. So for the endgame build, I recommend to use the Hypothermy, which replaces the Ice Shackle with the Ice Needle, which no longer slows down the enemies, but instead deals continuous damage to the target. The damage increases with each stack up to 5, and like I said at the beginning of the video, this is the most important module that makes our whole endgame build 2 times better. Because the Hypothermy module makes a significant change to how Viessa works, since the Ice Shackle effect applied by her skills will now deal damage over time to enemies instead of reducing their movement skill. And please note that it might take you a while to obtain the Hypothermy module, because it is quite rare, but in the meantime this build will still work fine. But at least now you know that whenever you get this one, your damage will increase substantially. So then with that out of the way, the next modules we want to get is the Nimble Fingers, which reduces your skill cooldowns. Then the skill extension, which improves your skill duration. Then the skill expansion, that considerably increases your skill effect range. Then the Chill Specialist, which boosts the power of your chill skills. Then the Non-Attribute Master, which considerably boosts your skill power, with a smaller additional boost to the non-attribute skill power. Then the Dual Claws, that attack with the Dual Claws during a sub-attack, also increases your max module capacity. Then the Entropy Acceleration, which slightly improves the max MP and skill critical hit damage. Then the Energy Collection, which gives you the ability to steal MP from enemies. Then Skill Range Mastery, which increases the skill critical hit damage, with a slight increase to the skill effect range as well. And finally the HP Concentration, which increases the max HP and skill critical hit rate. So then finally, let's take a closer look at the best weapons and stats that we should use. So for our Viessa build, the Thunder Cage submachine gun is the ultimate weapon. This firearm emits an electric shockwave that creates the appearance of thunder being directed at the enemy. When defeating an enemy, the defeated enemy has a set chance to discharge electric shockwave that deals even more additional damage to the nearby enemies. This is a very high DPS weapon with a quick fire rate, which augments her already strong AoE and dot damage very nicely. And then for our weapon mods, here are the best ones, like the Hawkeye, Reload Concentration, Rifling Reinforcement, Concentrate Support Ammo, Action and Reaction, Marksman, Weak Point Control, Weak Point Sight, and Fire Rate Up. Then second of all, we have the Nazirstress Devotion, which is a hand cannon with a great secondary weapon potential. It works especially well if you're good at aiming and is confident at hitting enemy weak points. Hitting an enemy weak point with Nazir's Devotion reduces their defenses by 30% for 3 seconds, which indirectly buffs the damage of all of your attacks. A carefully aimed shot from this weapon makes it an amazing for single target boss fights. And lastly, another great secondary weapon that can help out to buff our damage if you hit the enemy weak points is the Afterglow Sword, Sniper Rifle. By hitting an enemy's weak point, it will inflict death propagation, improving the weak point damage by 5% per stack. You can also get the extra critical hit rate when hitting commanders and other elite enemies with this weapon. And then last but not the least, we need to quickly look into the best reactor stats. So your reactor is a very important item that determines your skill damage and can also include extra modifiers that buff certain aspects of your build. The better your reactor is, the more damage your skills will deal to enemies. I recommend prioritizing using a reactor with a high skill power and sub-attack power. Look out for a reactor that buffs chill and or dimension skills, as most of the Viessa skills will fall into these categories. And after that, look out for reactors with a boost to your skill critical hit damage, which will improve the amount of damage dealt when you land a critical hit. Also look out for optimization condition that you can easily fulfill with your Viessa build. So for example, we have a reactor that requires an equipped sniper rifle to meet the optimization condition. Meeting the condition increases the skill power of your reactor, so keep in mind that it's very important to meet the conditions of your reactors. Our Viessa's attribute is chill and her skills use fusion and tech, which means that you want to pick a reactor with a frozen mixture that boosts the chill and fusion type, or the frozen mechanics that again boost the chill and tech. Because our Viessa build focuses on damage, it is better to spec into skills we can use more often, therefore we want to select a frozen mixture reactor. However, any will do until you have proper version of the best reactor. And finally we have the external components. With your external components, you will be somewhat subject to RNG, at least until you've played the game for long enough to find basically every single possible combination with a good stat roll. For our build, I generally recommend to get the components with stats in the max shields, max HP, HP recovery and defense. And that's about it. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With that said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy, peace.